It's hard to believe, but we are just 100 days out from an absolutely historic election. And Democrats are not only in a position to protect our majority, but to expand it. The DCCC has been hard at work to make sure that we could build a massive battlefield. Not only will we protect our majority by defending the hard-fought frontline districts we picked up in 2018, we'll be expanding it as we wade further into deep red Republican-held territory to pick up even more seats this fall. Look, folks, the investments we have made this cycle are paying off. From grassroots organizing that's stronger than ever, to our cycle of engagement, prioritizing young people and communities of color, to the more than $10 million that we're investing alongside the DNC and the DCCC to aggressively pursue voting rights litigation. This is work that has become only more vital as we fight for access to the ballot during COVID-19. Democrats are on offense. Because of the work that you've been a part of, we are in the driver's seat heading into the final stretch of the 2020 campaign. Meanwhile, Republicans have to grapple with the full gravity of the radioactive president, the deep unpopularity of their reckless attacks on Americans' healthcare, and their ownership of the Trump administration's continued failure in the response to COVID-19. But let's talk more about the battlefield. Our frontline members are getting the job done to ensure we protect our majority in November. These Democrats have been busy building massive war chests, as Republicans have failed to recruit strong candidates in key districts across the map. And it's already paying dividends. Right at this moment, House Democrats are owning the airwaves, defining their positive message in districts that the president won by double digits in 2016. And it's not just our frontline members setting the fundraising pace. In the second quarter of this year, 33 Democratic challengers outraised the Republican incumbents, including 24 of the DTRIP's 30 red to blue candidates. Also, 14 of our red to blue candidates have eclipsed their Republican opponents in cash on hand. Our red to blue candidates are running smart campaigns and putting themselves in a position to win. Trust me, folks, House Republicans are exactly where they don't want to be with 100 days to go, on their heels and on defense. The DTRIP has also continued to shatter fundraising records, outpacing the NRCC by $32 million through June. And with additional investments in grassroots fundraising, the DTRIP's grassroots team raised more than $103 million this past quarter. The Democrats' battlefield is more than just our fundraising success. It is defined by our candidates themselves. Our candidates are diverse. 26 of the DTRIP's 30 red to blue candidates are women, and 12 identify as people of color. In the second quarter of this year, 24 of those 30 challenger candidates outraised their Republican opponents. They're farmers, doctors, veterans, educators, mental health advocates, national security experts, mayors, judges. They're armed with strong records and are able to speak with voters about the issues that really matter to them, like strengthening public education, growing an economy that works for all, protecting access to quality, affordable health care. The biggest challenge any committee or candidate will face in the final 100 days of this election will be how to adapt and run a winning campaign in the midst of a global pandemic. The DTRIP has been able to adapt to this new reality, thanks to early investments in doing things like building a strong team to manage our massive battlefield. And we're in a strong position to connect with voters no matter what. Beginning last year, we put field managers on the ground. We've worked with state parties and campaigns to hire 57 field directors across the country. We also opened a Texas headquarters early last year that added pressure on Republicans and led to what has been called the Texodus, with 3 of our 6 initial Texas Republican targets retiring. In April 2019, we launched our cycle of engagement that prioritizes organizing key communities across the battlefield, including Black voters, Hispanic voters, Asian voters, and Pacific Islander voters. And this year, responding to the need to shift our organizing from in-person to online, we launched a digital mobilization program that has already placed mobilization directors in more than 30 districts. But that's not all. In May of this year, we launched our virtual action center to channel the enthusiasm of voters stuck at home during this pandemic. 22,000 individual volunteers have signed up for 489 virtual congressional campaign events in June alone. With vote by mail more important than ever, the DTRIP has used special elections conducted during COVID-19 as a testing ground for vote-by-mail best practices. We'll put those lessons that we've learned from those special elections to use across the battlefield. American voters know what is at stake, and with 100 days to go, they're ready to protect and expand their Democratic House while closing the book on a trying chapter in American history. Democrats have the message, the money, and the mobilization tools needed to win big in November. Now, let's get to work and get it done.